All right, so this is a review of Until Dawn. It's directed by David F. Sandberg. It's the latest video game adaptation. Video game adaptations are really popular right now, and this movie is not the video game it's supposed to be based on. I played Until Dawn. I really liked that game. This is not that game. I remember watching the trailer and I'm thinking, okay, is this supposed to be a video game adaptation of that game? Because I mean, it's called Until Dawn, and the title looks like the title from the game, but this is not the story of the game, even just looking at the trailer. So, and after seeing the movie, yes, this is not this is not the game. So in this, Clover, played by Ella Rubin, um, her sister went missing. I believe it was a year ago. Her sister Melanie, and so now she's on a road trip with her friends to go to all the different places that Melanie went to on her last trip, including the place that she went missing. And so they end up in this storm, which stops right as they get to this place, this house. It's like there's like a wall of rain that just stops right there. So things are already seeming kind of off and weird. So they go inside of this place and they see a book where people have written their names. It's like a check-in book for like maybe a hotel or something, and there's people's names in there, and their names are in there like a bunch of times, and the names get worse and worse with each one. And they see Melanie's name in it, so it's like, okay, this is definitely the place where she went missing. And there's an hourglass on the wall, and it flips around and it starts, and these friends, and they end up getting killed by this slasher type guy. But they actually don't stay dead. The night starts over from when they got to that place. So they figure out, okay, so we have to survive until this hourglass runs out in order to get out of here. We can't leave, we can't escape unless we can survive pretty much the whole night. That's why it's called Until Dawn, until morning. This movie's bad, and it's, like I said, not an adaptation of that video game at all. But I was going to be somewhat nice to it and say that it's somewhat watchable because I mean, I think that for the most part the performances are good. What's his name? Peter Stormare. He comes in and he's this doctor. He's from the games. That's clearly, that's the reason why he's in this. And I think he's really good as he is in most things I see him in. And I actually thought the people in this that are trying to survive the night, Clover and her friends. I actually thought that the actors' performances were good for the most part. Other than the guy that plays Max, Michael Cimino, I thought he was bad. I thought his line delivery was awkward, and I already didn't care for his character. We'll get back to that. But I thought he was awkward and felt like he was just giving lines, not necessarily, just talking. Right? It didn't feel believable, his character. But for the most part, those performances are good, and they do come up with creative ways to kill them. It's not just the slasher. There's a point where they start exploding from drinking the water and things like that. And there is an interesting element to it to find out, okay, because they start to do research into this town that was buried underground and things like that. They start to do research into it, and this doctor, Peter Stormare's character, they start to do research into that, hoping that will help them survive. And there's also the whole thing of, maybe Melanie, the Clover's sister, is still in there somewhere, and they can potentially find her. There's also an aspect of, okay, well, we want to all survive, so if one of us dies, we should just die and start over again, so that we have another chance for all of us to get out. There's some interesting things here. So I was going to be somewhat kind to it and say like that it's at least watchable, but as it went on, I was like, okay, no, this is just bad. Starting off with the characters are largely uninteresting. You don't really care about them all that much. There's not that great exposition, just saying who they are and what their connections with each other are. Max and Clover, they used to be together, but then Clover wanted some space because of what happened to her sister. She's going through a lot, so Max broke up with her, but he clearly wants to get back with her, and the characters say things about that. But they don't have any chemistry really. It doesn't seem like they were ever together or that they're going to get back together at some point. It kind of just feels like he just wants to be with her and she's not really thinking about him at all. That's what it seemed like. Without context, I would have just assumed, oh, this guy's a crush on her, but she's not really into him. Because it's just him being endlessly devoted to her and her not really reciprocating that at all. He just is devoted to doing anything she wants to do. She wants to do something stupid, he dives headfirst into going with her. He defends her. He defends her actions when it comes to the group having issues with things that she wants to do. He doesn't want to kill her whenever she wants them to just all die and start over. It's just, I didn't care at all. There's another character in this that gets signals from the universe, whatever. She's kind of psychic or something like that, and she explains things. After she explains certain things, and certain things happen kind of early on. After that, you could forget that she even is psychic or whatever. You could forget about the character. I actually did forget about the character. There's a scene where they start over, and that character's not there, and they have a full-on conversation without realizing she wasn't there. And I didn't realize it either. That's how little of an impression she had on me. But none of them gave me that much of an impression. Clover is probably the character with the most going on. She has the missing sister that she's thinking about. Also she wants to survive with her friends that are there. She's really adamant on not leaving any of them behind. Other than that, there's not much. So you're basically just watching characters that you don't care about dying over and over again in ways that are kind of fun, but that gets old. And so you have this kind of interesting thing where we want to learn more about this place, and that'll help us survive. But that turns into really nothing. It leads into things with Peter Stormare's character, and the certain kind of revelations, but it's not satisfying at all. It does not justify really wanting to know what's going on here. It feels anticlimactic to me. It's not the game at all. It's not the same characters. It's not the same story. It's not Until Dawn at all. What they do is they have this story which I wouldn't be surprised if this was a script that already existed that they just repurposed into being Until Dawn and threw references in there, because it's not Until Dawn at all, and they just have references like the slasher that's going after them. The mask and everything looks like the character from the game, even though that had way more going on with it. There was a twist and things like that, much, much better in the game. And here he's just going after them. It's just another thing that's killing them. They're just dying and dying and dying to things. The Wendigos are in here because the Wendigos were a big part of the game, way bigger of a part in the game. But we got them, right? You remember that from the game, right? It's the whole thing with the miners. If I remember right, the miners thing was also in the game, but obviously was more of a thing rather than just throwing it in there because, hey, you remember this? It's so fucking lazy, right? It is a bad horror movie, just kind of thrown out there. But hey, it's called Until Dawn, and hey, it's nothing like Until Dawn, but you recognize these things, right? So come see it. This game could be a really good movie adaptation, or a series on a streaming service. Like The Last of Us and some of these other ones that have been coming out. But instead, we get this, which is a bland, bad horror movie where, hey, we have little references here and there to the game, but it's not the game at all. But hopefully we can get people who like the game to see the movie anyway. It's so shitty. It's shitty. I was going to give this a rental. I was like, okay, well, it's kind of watchable, seeing them die over and over again. And that is, for the most part, well done. It's very gory, and it's enjoyable to a certain point. But there's not much to this. Also, a good amount of the days, I guess this is maybe a spoiler, a good amount of the days are off screen, and they just happen to be taking video of it. It's like, well, when did they start taking video? Who cares? Anyway, yeah, I was largely just completely uninterested in this after a certain point. And it was already starting off negative with me because I'm like, okay, this is clearly not the game. But yeah, this is a bad movie. Don't even bother with it. Don't even waste your time. Anyway, that's Until Dawn. I'm giving it trash. Subscribe, and we're done.